I wrote a speech. I do my homework, but I've left it on the table. After I arrived here, I stood over there. I don't know if anybody saw me. And I was watching the faces of people who arrived here. There was a lot of beauty in those smiles. There was a lot of warmth in those hugs. I actually want to talk about what the privilege it is to be here this evening. Last night at about 11:30, I couldn't go to sleep. I got up, put on Sky TV, and watched the news. Ladies in the back, if you want to come and do this, that's fine. I watched the news and I got really very, very, very sad. It does look like we're all going to hell in a handbag. When I was sitting over there, I was watching and listening and absorbing what was going around this room. I didn't plan to do this, but I'm going to do it. Let's just have a look at how many nationalities are in this room. When I watch the news, none of us seem to be friends. When I watch the news, nobody can have an adult, grown-up conversation. So let's start with this table here. Shout out a country. South Africa, this table. Lovely. Next. India, next. New Zealand. Stand up and just shout if you come from a different country. You don't come from South Africa, New Zealand, America. Got anybody here from the UK? Woo! Fiji. Where else? Where? Samoa. Where else? China. Kenya. Vietnam. You get my point? I didn't come out here this evening thinking that actually my heart was going to feel warm and fuzzy about our world. Jatine, there have been a lot of thanks and a lot of acknowledgement for what you do. I'm actually going to take it a step further. In my life, I have worked with some extraordinary human beings, great leaders, in industry, in sport, in theatre, in business. I work with people who, some of them have got more money than God. There is a difference when somebody becomes a leader because of what they contribute. We are here today because one man decided that he was going to take on the challenge, that he wasn't going to body swerve the uncomfortable fact that people die of cancer. He wasn't going to body swerve the uncomfortable fact that it's incredibly difficult to find the support that you need in that moment. 17 years ago, I was living in the UK. My husband came home and said that he'd been offered a 2-week contract consultancy job in New Zealand. At that point, Andy worked all over the world, so the fact he was going off for 2 weeks to New Zealand, yeah, whatever, I don't think I even took my eyes off the television. 3 days later, he rang me from New Zealand and said, I think I found the country that we need to bring our children up in. I've met extraordinary people with extraordinary values. I said, what exactly does that mean? He said, I don't know, give me 48 hours, let me see if I can talk myself into a job. And he did. I had 4 weeks to sell a business, sell a house, sort out 3 kids of school age, and sort my life out. One of the things I did was go to the doctors to have a full medical checkup, because I don't know if anybody here has had to go through the paperwork of being allowed into here, and for health reasons, it was a nightmare. Andy came back from New Zealand, we packed, we were all ready to go. Literally 5 days before we were to emigrate, I was called into the doctor's room, where sat an oncologist who told me that in my routine health check, they had found that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. They had no idea how far it had spread. They certainly had no idea whether or not 5 days' time I was getting on a plane to emigrate to New Zealand with my family. I didn't come to New Zealand with my family. Andy got on a plane with my kids and came here and started life. I stayed in the UK for 4 months having my cancer treatment, not knowing whether I was going to live or die, and absolutely terrified of where were my children living and what was their life. I hadn't seen the house they were living in. I hadn't seen the school they were going to. I knew nothing. 4 months later, after some pretty horrific treatments, I remember sitting in front of the consultant and I literally said, enough now. I can't do this anymore. I need to go to New Zealand. I need to be with my family. Phone calls were made. Agency was contacted. And the support I was given from individuals so that I could fly from the other side of the world to be with my family under those circumstances was extraordinary. I arrived on that early morning 6:30 flight, very broken. Anybody here who's had radiotherapy will know that it's not pleasant. Your skin necroses, it smelt, my body was burning. I vomited every couple of hours, but I was determined to live long enough to see my children. I got off the plane, and I was picked up by Andy and the kids, and I have to say, I was genuinely surprised that I didn't see any sheep between the airport and the North Shore. I've now been here 16 years. I'm very pleased to say to you that I am in remission. In that time, I have endeavoured to step forward and to support cancer charities in any way that I can. My way may be a little different from most. I send my love into the world, and when there are families that are in crisis and individuals that are in crisis, I will quietly in a corner coach them, use my networks, and give them as much support as I can. We've heard from some extraordinary people this evening. The ladies and gentlemen that work in the hospice, Ronald McDonald, the Unicorn, Cancer Society. Let me be absolutely clear with you. Nobody walks into the world that these people work in without paying a very, very high private, personal price. They give of themselves on a level that most of us have never done. They're not afraid to walk into somebody's life when they are at their most vulnerable, frightened that they might die, and terrified of the effect that their illness has on the people that they love. I am now going to unashamedly challenge you all. There are people in this room who have got bank accounts that have some dispensable income. There are others that don't. In these flower arrangements, there are some orchids. If you've only got $10, leave it on the table, take an orchid, that's fine. But if you do have more than $10, frankly, I don't care what you need or what you want. What I care is that today, now, you step forward. You step into the reason why we all came here tonight. There are people dying who need our help. There are parents with kids who are traumatized. We can't make that better. But what we can do here and now is step up, step forward, and contribute to their lives so that in some small way we can take away the pressure of finding the next $100 to pay some bills in the hospice, or for Cancer Society to look at research that is really going to make a difference. I remember one very, very frightening morning. It was the first morning I was going to have radiotherapy. And I don't know if you know, but they put you under a funny machine and they tattoo you so they can work out exactly where the radiation goes. And I can remember lying there and thinking to myself, if I live, if I do get to see my kids and go to their weddings and go to their graduations, that any time I was asked to stand up and advocate for somebody who was in the position I'm in, I would do it gladly. So when Jatine asked me to do it, in a heartbeat, I completely changed my diary, cancelled the flights, and I'm here. Please, from the bottom of my heart, our best way to say thank you to all these people who look after us is with a few dollars tonight. Thank you for listening. Jatine.